We've had quite a busy news week, a lot going on in Sacramento, national story coverage coming out of ABC 10. So proud of our team.
Yes.
So I just want to recap you on where we are with the Stephon Clark case, what's going to happen today, what's going to happen tomorrow. So we know that later today at Bayside Church, there's going to be a wake for Stephon. And in the afternoon, there's also going to be a protest against the DA. So we have those two events today. Then tomorrow is going to be the funeral. Now we know there are a lot of A-list celebrities that are going to be at this funeral. We have Common showing up. Al Sharpton will be there. DeMarcus Cousins, Chris Webber, Matt Barnes. Matt Barnes is actually from the area. Matt and DeMarcus have offered to pay for the funeral costs, which is not something that is new to those guys. DeMarcus Cousins paid for a funeral back with JJ Claw, or is it Clavo? JJ Clavo back in the day. So guys, we have a lot going on. We got to talk about it, but first I want to show you Lilia Luciano. She was on the ground yesterday at the protest, and she put together a package to show you what the experience of being there was actually like.
It was good that they released.
We were talking to Ben Crump, the attorney for the family of Stephon Clark, when he got a call with news of what was going down in City Hall. After the interview, we headed over, and just as we arrived, protesters started heading elsewhere.
Stephon Clark!
Once again to the King's Arena, and they're preventing people from getting into this. They're saying, join us or go home.
Black Lives Matter! No justice. I'm not getting any here. Dude stole my phone. I was taking pictures, and the dude came up, grabbed it out of my hand, and ran away. So I suggest y'all turn around because it ain't happening today.
Join us to go home!
We did enough for my cousin, man, for real. Let these people watch this game, man.
So everybody is an autonomous individual, but we got to listen to the family with the sound part. So we got to remain respectful
right now,
because we got to remember we're out here for Stephon.
We got to make sure that everybody get on stage. I want these people to go to their game. We are peaceful. We are here for Stephon Clark, man. We letting everybody know all around, everywhere. We're not shutting it down. We just diffusing it so these people can watch this game. We said enough.
Even though the family is asking, let's stop, still there are protesters that are saying they're not ready to stop the protest tonight.
Stephon Clark! Stephon Clark! No justice, no peace, period.
I don't know if this is the right way, but it's impacting people. So, you know, maybe what they're doing is right.
So, you know, what more do we got to do? You know, I don't think that the kid should have been shot, but they already did it once. They've already blocked a game. How many times has this got to go on before the police take action?
Even if the family's saying let people in the arena, why this place? Why is this important, the arena right now?
Well, we need to get our message out. They're not listening. We will get our message out once we stop the money. Once the money stops, everybody want to start listening.
Oh, yeah, I have rights.
So what is the biggest thing in Sacramento? What's the biggest thing?
You're looking at it.
Stephon Clark!
A phone is not a gun!
He's young, he's black, he's gifted, he was a father. That's sad. 20 times is too much. Come on, man.
Coming out of the coverage, we've all been affected by what's going on in different ways. And a lot of people came out last night to the City Hall meeting in order to voice their opinion about what's been going on. They had to cut that meeting a little bit short, and Mayor Steinberg put out a message later last night, earlier this morning, about why they needed to postpone it and what's going to happen next. So I want to give you the opportunity to listen to that.
I want to assure all of the public and everyone who, of course, is vitally interested in this terrible event and wants to have their voices heard, you will have your voice heard. But we are postponing tomorrow.
And I just want to make sure that everyone understands we value your voice, we value what you have to say, and we will make sure the opportunity for your voice to be heard is available for you. And so I just want to make sure you know that as we move forward. But out of respect for the family, we are canceling our session for tomorrow.
Okay, so the session is canceled, and people are wondering, will they get that opportunity to speak their word, to speak their piece? And that's something that I hope does happen for them.
Right. It's been amazing to witness all the twists and turns and everything. And by the way, the other gentleman there, that's council member Rick Jennings. He represents my area. Okay. And so, you know, every time the story unfolds to a new stage, you realize, you know, this is the story in Sacramento, whether
Absolutely.
you've been wanting to go to a basketball, let's say you're not concerned about the story at all or you haven't been paying attention. That story was brought to you if you're trying to go to the basketball game. If you're just scrolling through Facebook, the story's coming to you now via Facebook and this show Extra Shot. So, you know, this is a conversation we are all having and getting involved with, and it's growing. The story's getting bigger as we're learning more about what happened and what's going to happen next.
And what we're seeing, at least in our comments, is that there's still that combativeness between people, this inability to understand the other side and to see what's really going on. Yesterday, being at the different discussions that there were, I noticed that there was a calm in the meeting that I was at. I went to a press conference around 9:30 in the morning. It was calm, but as Kirsten pointed out, it was calm because people were invited, and it was only by invitation that certain people were there.
I think that's really important to remember. You know, when you have a press conference, you invite people that you want to help share your message. It's like, I'm going to have my party. You're not going to invite people who might disagree with you at your party or people who have been on the news protesting against you to your party. You're going to invite your friends. And so, yeah, when we make the comparison, it's just key to remember who was at the press conference. There were people calling for calm. Most everybody in the room agreed we want to call for calm. There is a whole segment of our population that was like, we are tired of being shot in the streets. I remember hearing so many sound bites and being at those protests, at those vigils. These people feel like they are being targeted by police and they fear for their lives. Just like those officers fear for their lives, people in this community feel like they are fearful of their lives.
And if you can take the temperature of the room right now, it's getting hotter because what you saw with Lilia's story and her photographer Jason, there's anger now from another side. The people that maybe they even agree with the protests, but they want to move on to something else. They think that by blocking people going into the basketball game or by blocking I-5 or what have you, that's now the protest is taking away from the message. So you can see the anger in that side of it as well, that people that are not maybe directly connected to this story, that they're getting angry as well. And you can see, I mean, when people are that close and both people are angry, it does not take much for then all of a sudden something to happen. And then that overtakes the original story is what happened to this man in his grandmother's backyard with two officers giving chase. Nobody could see anything. And then in an instant, he was dead, and they were left trying to figure out what happened.
The flip side of that is that, you know, they wanted to draw attention. I think you saw in Lilia's story, or saw this morning, we want to get as much attention as possible. How can we do that? And a guy said that, you know, the biggest thing in Sacramento is the Kings game. And financially, you know, when you think about protests, some of the most effective ways to get attention is to hit them where it hurts, in their pockets where things are green, because money is green, it's not black or white. So if we stop funding certain things or stop these people from going, like the Kings may have lost a lot of money last night by this game. That's going to get people to be like, okay, so what are we going to do? It's going to at least get the conversation going. I don't know how effective it's going to be. I don't want to give my opinion on that, but that was, I believe, the strategy for it. Let's stop the Kings game. Let's get on I-5. Let's make this affect so many people, because the people who are protesting feel like they are so affected and they want our attention.
But then we have out there. We have Christine Nicole, one of our commenters, saying that these aren't peaceful protests, that these people are throwing temper tantrums, in her words, and acting ridiculous. She says the peaceful protests shouldn't interfere with people's existing rights, and she feels that these do, and that people should be able to move freely throughout the city without focusing on this. That is another opinion that has been echoed loudly on social media. But I will say this, last night watching the city council meeting on the live stream, it was very clear to me when I saw the t-shirts, the Build Black, and the messages that were being put forth. We need proper housing. We need better access to funding that's going to help us build better lives for ourselves. The messages coming out of that community were clear. We're feeling suffocated. We're feeling like the world is being put on our shoulders, and we want help to get a way out. That's what I heard loud and clear, and I think that was done after Stevante's outburst in a peaceful way. You
know, we've talked about this on the show before, that one of the big strengths of Sacramento is its diversity. It's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, the most diverse big city in America. That is a strength. However, the contrast in that diversity is very stark throughout the city, block to block, neighborhood by neighborhood, and you feel it driving around town. And so I think that, you know, it started off with Stephon Clark, but some of these other lingering issues that perhaps, you know, for instance, in Meadowview, Meadowview is a neighborhood and a community that deals with issues that people in Natomas don't deal with.
Absolutely.
That
in certain parts of Natomas.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Even Natomas, there's a north and a south, and people always identify, I'm from North Natomas. This is where I live, not South Natomas. There's people always identify kind of where they're living.
It's funny that we've done that to ourselves. Like, we as black people can live in white neighborhoods. Anybody can live anywhere. You can buy property anywhere. You know, there's a whole argument about whether or not banks will lend to you in certain places. But we can live anywhere. But we, as a people, have segregated ourselves. You would look at it like a lot of times when you go to church. Sunday morning at 10 o'clock, where I'm from, is the most segregated time of the day. And it's on a religious tip, it's like you think heaven's going to be more multicultural than we just set it up to be for the start of the week, right? So I think that is a whole dynamic that plays into here, that it's like we've segregated ourselves.
Kimberly Morgan's weighing in. I still stand that 20 shots were super unnecessary. Why, though? Just why? No one deserves that. This isn't the movies and some bionic alien is charging at law enforcement to kill them. This is real life, a human being.
I want to get a viewer comment in, too, because that was really good, and I appreciate that. We have to remember that a life was taken, and there is a family that is grieving. I want to echo that sentiment. And Nikki Wallace says, maybe you should list the stages of grieving because these people are grieving. I may not agree with how they acted, but if it were my brother or my son, I'm not sure that I would not be angry. When I see, it breaks my heart to see the coverage of Stephon's grandmother and his brother. These people are so, that is all I see, such hurt. When you see their actions, I feel like sometimes there's lots of family members. I did an interview with the Mann family. They were just like Stephon Clark's family 2 years ago. And they see the same thing, and it's like, you know, these people are in the midst of grieving. They've just lost someone that they love so much, and it's like this national thing. They have so many people coming at them right now. They don't really have the chance, the opportunity to grieve and go through all of these emotions because all of this is displayed on camera. That's really unfortunate.
So yesterday at the press conference that I went to, they made it very clear. Attorney General Becerra and our mayor made it very clear that they're going to be investigating both what happened that night and also the policies and procedures that are in place. And they promise to make sure that whatever policies and procedures don't align with what needs to be happening in order to make sure that there is a proper protocol for how to handle this right now, that those changes are put in effect now and that they don't wait until the end of the entire investigation to make those changes.
Because it could take a very, very long time.
Look how long it took with Alton Sterling. We literally just got the ruling today.
Look at my face. Don't get me started. I'm not from Louisiana, but I was there when the incident happened, and we knew that this was going to happen. And you know, there was a mindset that was like, well, because this information was supposed to come out about Alton Sterling. He was a black man that was selling homemade CDs. Like he was selling mixtapes outside of a grocery store. And, you know, that's not necessarily the best thing you're supposed to be doing legally. But in the video, you could see, because people had cell phones, police were on top of him. And they shot him, and they were on top of him, holding him down. They say he may have been reaching for a gun. It's really murky there. But they were on top of him, and they shot him at point-blank range. Shot him and killed him at point-blank range. And we knew, like, 2 years ago, that they're going to delay this. They're going to let us forget about it because there were riots. There were peaceful protests. 200 people were arrested in those protests. So when I'm comparing the two scenes, no, y'all are real peaceful here because people by the hundreds have been arrested in other situations like this. So, yeah, it's ironic that came out right now, and I'm like, ooh, that's going to add insult to injury to this case.
I've been seeing Terry Lasco pop up in a lot of the live streams that we've been doing lately. Not a fan of these protests, and she's saying that people are protesting like the trial is over. And I'd like to comment and say, no, I think that, to Kirsten's point, people are protesting like we need to make sure that at the end of the day, the decision that's made is one that reflects what actually happened and what's going to best affect our community and improve our community.
Will we ever know what actually happened, though?
I think at this point we at least have as much video footage as we could have.
Right. But let's just say what we know so far and maybe some of the places that they're going to look.
Okay.
They had a helicopter. They had eyes on the suspect. It was dark, but that helicopter has infrared vision. It can see almost everything. So, you know, what was the best, with that option available, it was right there. What was the best option? Let's just start with the police officers.
Okay.
Hey, this person's in the backyard. We don't know what's going on. Do you want them to go immediately in there without backup, without a canine unit? I mean, what was for the best safety of the officers? When you have air support, okay? That's a policy question, but that could save lives in the future. So let's just say in the future, hey, this thing, we've got eyes on the suspect. You hold back. Let's figure out what's going on. We're going to bring in more people to figure this out. We're going to talk to them on the loudspeaker. I mean, who knows? Here's another thing. And this I think is going to become the focal point for the family for what happens next. At one point, they hit mute on the video recording on the body cam, and the police chief himself said, "You know what?" And he's new to this area. He said, "You know what? Should we be muting video cameras? That's something that could probably happen today, as far as a policy. Who knows if they will do it or not, or if they were supposed to or not? We don't really know that, but." If the police chief is saying that, they're obviously looking at that, and that may be something in the future that, you know, as far as transparency, we can get everything, all the video and all the audio, because it's very important what people say.
Yeah, I want to talk about Chief Hahn. Chief Hahn grew up, like, he's a Sacramento area guy, and I think
what I mean is new as a police chief in this area.
There we go.
That's what I'm saying.
And I really appreciate the transparency that says I've covered other cases like this, and you don't see that. I can't think of another case where the police were so quick to put out body camera, all the body, all the angles, everything. I try to stay the journalist, and I don't have an opinion, but this is some of the fastest response time to being transparent that I have ever seen, and I applaud the Sacramento Police Department for doing that. In my case, it's like, yay, they're trying to do the right thing. A young man lost his life, and we can't bring him back, but they are trying at this point.
James Hart is saying, can't drive down the highway, can't go to a basketball game. I don't think this is peaceful protesting. This is prohibitive and destructive. They're restricting everybody else's rights.
So I'm going to say this. Last night at the city council meeting, a lot of moms were there, and they were denoted by wearing this flower. One of the moms approached the bench, and she said, it's spring break. She has 3 kids, I believe, at home, and every day she has to fight back tears trying to communicate to her sons what it would be like for them to have to go out in the world now and experience the world now, and how every day she has to monitor not only what they're doing, but how they're interacting with other people. That is wild to me.
I feel like my feelings are so legitimately hurt right now. Like, I'm not even a mom. I have a nephew, and I think I've said this, and I think amongst us, there are conversations in a black household, or at least in our household. I don't know about everybody else's. I won't speak for everyone. There are conversations that we have to have with my nephew, my little cousin, like my brother when he was younger, about, okay, if you get stopped by the police, this is what you need to do to come home.
Right.
Does anybody else have to have that conversation?
No, and I just don't think that they do, and that's the problem. And another mom stepped up to the mic, and she said, guys, there haven't been any people, I don't actually know if it was a mom, but somebody stepped up to the mic and said, nobody has come into our schools to give grievance counseling to these kids that now don't know how they should interact after school when they leave home, who don't feel safe walking down the street to go say hi to a friend or to play in the backyard. Can you imagine being a little kid growing up and saying, Mom, is it safe for me to play in my backyard? Is it safe for me to go outside? And for that to be a reality for little kids growing up in Sacramento?
Anywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
Ooh. Okay, so we have more people chiming in. And Carol says that that is part of parenting. I guess she doesn't see the difference between neighborhoods and what reality could be like for someone whose parents can't afford to move them out of a neighborhood because of constraints and because of financial concerns that they're unable to overcome. And I think we need to have some empathy.
Right. And, you know, there's so much focus on the suspect and the crime and all that. Let's just imagine what went out over the police radio. Suspect, black male, 20s. Here's the description. Do you know how many people have that exact description in general in that neighborhood at that time of night? So that's the whole point of this, is that as law enforcement is coming in and interacting with a potential suspect, there's so many innocent people that get wrapped up into this this police pursuit, and it's for them. It's for innocent victims of this. That's why the laws are set up. That's why the policies and procedures are set up to be so conservative. To step back because, you know, maybe he was a suspect in this crime, but who's to say it wouldn't be an innocent person just standing there? And then as all this is coming on, they may have in their mind, I don't know who's chasing me right now. I'm going to get away from this situation. And then the next thing you know, there's this deadly encounter in somebody's backyard and nobody could see anything.
I don't know. And I feel like I've paid attention to our coverage of it. And I know that this is like an open investigation, but I'm like, do we have evidence that Stephon Clark, this was the guy that was breaking into cars?
Right.
If I'm breaking into cars, I'm probably stealing stuff, right? Did he have anything on him that he stole?
Right.
Like, and you know, that's beside the point.
Right.
This young man is dead and this family is grieving and this city is in turmoil right now because we're facing an issue that a lot of cities across the country are facing right now, where we have issues of race. And I know a lot of people don't really want to bring race into the situation, but you know, I just kind of feel like when it's a black or brown person and it's a white police officer, that these are the scenarios that kind of play out more often than someone else. Earlier, I think last week, Placer County deputies went to serve a warrant on a guy that had weapons and had all of this stuff. This guy shot at them. They did not return fire.
It's a stark contrast. So we have more comments coming in. Morris A. Curry Jr. says that as an older black American man living in California, understanding that California has never had civil rights meetings, I don't see black leadership. In his day, our adults took over. Now, California has a rich history of protests and a rich history of civil rights discussion. So I don't know about that one, Morris, but to speak to black leadership in this town, I feel like black leadership came out during that meeting last night. I feel like whoever was organizing the order of people that was going to speak really did their due diligence in making sure that those strong voices were heard early and loudly. And so now it's just waiting to see what's going to happen.
I'm going to get to some viewer comments. We have Terry and Joshua Willison. Again, thanks you guys for watching. Yes, we are hearing reports. Police have not confirmed the identities of the officers to protect them because these guys are getting death threats, and we do not want to put them out there. But they're saying that, you know, one of the officers were black. One of the officers were black. So, you know, that is a good dynamic. Thank you for pointing that out. It doesn't really change like the perception of police brutality when it comes to racial issues, but I hear your point, I see you, and that's real. One of the officers were black.
I get worried because we've been through this before, witnessing this take place in other communities, and now it's here at home. I mean, we're really close. I mean, they're very easily one wrong move or perceived wrong move last night in front of the arena could have very easily turned violent, and that's something that nobody wants because then the message is lost. Because the people that were listening, now they're not listening anymore because here we go, and now it's affecting me, and now I don't need to know anything more because it's turned into this. So for everyone that's protesting, just know that tensions are rising everywhere, and we've seen this happen before in a bad way. So the family, Stephon's family is saying, please don't do this. This is not the way to handle this because we're going to lose the message. I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but we do have that quote from them. We mentioned it in the show this morning.
So I want to let you guys know that we've had wall-to-wall coverage of this since it happened last week. And if you want to check out more information about the story, you can go to abc10.com. We have the full unedited video from the helicopters, from the body cameras cut together. We have packages at all of the protests. So let us know how you feel in the comments, but that's your resource for finding out more about this. And abc10.com and our live streams here will let you know when there will be more protests, when the wake will happen, and everything else that comes along.